No, Chicken Little, the sky is not falling. Tesla stock is down, but to me, this feels like 2019. I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla weekend. A quick thanks to newest patron, Chris Petroff. Your support is what keeps the channel running, so let's just get into it, shall we? What was going on back in 2019? Well, 2018 was the production hell. Kind of a do-or-die moment. The company was in big trouble. And as 29 started, things were getting better. But survival was far from guaranteed. Kept falling behind the ambitious 5,000 units a week target. Yeah, it looked like they were never going to get there. And if you looked at all of the different analysts, that was absolutely a belief. And of course, in Shanghai, we had the mud field. It's just a field of mud. They're not going to produce anything here. You're telling me this is going to be a factory? Come on. When? How? They're just going to steal the IP. It'll never produce much. A lot of headwinds. And then 2018 had ended. What did we have? 245,000 vehicles made. 145,000 Model 3, and really not that many S and X for as mature of a vehicle as it was. Times were getting a little scary. You know, the Model Y had been unveiled, and it's going to be cheap. It's going to be good. But the unveiling was kind of a non-event. They knew it would potentially Osborne the Model 3, kill demand for it, hurt sales of the Model 3. And when is it even going to come out? Do we know? Everything comes out late with Tesla. Ars Technica had finally reviewed the Model 3. It'd been out for like a year at this point, and they're just getting around to reviewing it. The review went well, but they weren't being taken seriously. A lot of headwinds. Tesla has never needed to advertise, but that might have to change. Any analyst you looked at was pretty negative. Was pretty bearish on the whole thing. Tesla is closing stores, shifting all sales online. There were a lot of big cost-cutting measures because the company was simply hemorrhaging cash. Tesla doesn't burn fuel, it burns cash. A complete guide to how Elon has raised and spent billions of dollars. Yeah, Tesla has spent this much money since you started reading this. It's a clever little widget to plug in. Times were a little scary. Look at all this free cash flow. The more cars you sell, the more money you lose. And there were more headwinds coming. Tesla stock down more than 8% day after posting biggest sales drop in its history. It was a bit of an anomaly. And then at the end of 2019, we had the expiration of the EV tax credit. End of 18, it went from 7,500, got cut in half. Halfway through the year, got cut in half again. And then at the end of the year, it was gone. And immediately Tesla was like, oh man, we might have to cut prices. And they did. Briefly. But there were some folks like us who may have seen through it. The early days, Tesla didn't do a whole lot. Just kind of hung out. But in 2019, it got nice and low and took off. Because some of us could see what was on the horizon. We could see the Model Y was coming. We could see that Shanghai was going to be completed. We could see that the Cybertruck, which had yet not been announced, was going to be a thing. We believed in it, even though all those analysts said, don't, it's a bad idea. When I put 75% of my retirement in May of 2019, right about here, a little over that, about 13 something, about here, my friend told me I was crazy, he wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. It worked out all right. So far. How's sales gone? I'd argue pretty good. In 2018, that was a big year. But could it keep growing? Could it actually go to that number and that number and that number? And to the numbers we're seeing today? Well, the answer is clearly yes. But we'll get into that. So today's tailwinds, we've got all the production. Giga Texas, just ramping. They've got 20,000 Model Ys made so far. Giga Berlin, they're up to 2,000 cars a week. And they're just getting started. Both of those factories are expanding. And we haven't seen any announcements for additional factories. And I believe that's because we don't have any announcements for additional vehicles that would need those factories. What are we going to do? Make another 2 or 3 Model Y factories? That's too many. The factories they have are very high volume and they're growing quickly. And looking at that chart again, this is very close to just the run rate for Shanghai. Now, per year, plus Fremont, plus Berlin, plus Texas. That's a tailwind, my friend. Another tailwind, the energy sector. It's growing, it's profitable, and it's only going to get bigger, and it's only going to get more profitable because batteries are no longer a constraint. They no longer have to choose between making vehicles and making power walls and megapacks. They can do both. They've got a dedicated factory in Lathrop, California that makes megapacks. They make power walls in Nevada. It's going great, in my opinion. You can also look at the financials and see for yourself. It is, objectively, going well. So I saw this comment on Reddit today. On the bright side, the price-to-earning ratio is now down to 59. Pretty insane for a company that's growing like this. As a reminder, it entered 2022 with a PE of 215, and the year before, above 1,000. Price to earnings had to come down at some point, so while the current situation sucks, it was unavoidable. And yes, it may have to come down even further in the future, but this won't continue indefinitely, and they could start buybacks kind of at any time. It's at a good price. Is 59 a good PE ratio? I don't know. Amazon, it's currently at 82. Amazon is worth more on a price to earnings basis than Tesla. Do you think Amazon is growing 50% next year? And the year after? And the year after that? They're still growing, I think. Maybe not so much in their direct sales, but they've got a lot of other business ventures that are growing. But are they growing 50%? Prudential Financial, Trust the Rock, PE ratio of 143. They're not growing 50%. T-Mobile, PE ratio of 122. If Tesla's stock doubles, it'll only be in the range of the same price to earnings ratio as T-Mobile. Do you think T-Mobile's growing 50% a year, year after year, from here until at least 2030? Probably 2035. The stock is undervalued, in my opinion. Eastman Kodak, 113 price to earnings ratio. So yeah, the sky is not falling, but I should also point out that this is not financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor, because, and what's crazy is you look at videos like this, you get advice like this, you hear from people like me who say this, but the fudsters, the short sellers, the Tesla Q, they don't say this. They're happy to let you believe they are financial advice, that they are financial advisors, that you should listen to them. Another thing I saw on Reddit this week was someone pointed out, before we knew that Elon had been selling shares, that there was an outrageous amount of short interest being purchased in options. That for some reason, there was a huge number of very short, very deep short options. Somebody was tipped off. Somebody let the hedge funds know, and they went in, and they went in hard. And they probably made very good money in the last few days, but that pressure appears to be gone, for today at least. But forget about the stock price. If you're in it for the short term, that's called gambling. If you're in it for the long term, this is a buying opportunity. Will it go lower? Maybe, but the floor is in sight because the price to earnings ratio can only compress so much before people look at it and say, well, this is just too cheap. I have to buy it. So that's where we're at. I did want to say a thank you, as always, to my Patreons who get early access, bonus content, an ad-free experience in many cases, and there's more coming. I'm getting a Discord server set up shortly. to give even more value and more direct contact, like I'm not easy enough to reach. But still, and as a quick bonus, here's the other pictures. I let AI make my thumbnail, and it came out really great. Some really cool stuff in here. These are all of my Chicken Little freaking out pictures. How wild is that? So beautiful. Okay, maybe not that one. That's wild. They're so good. Okay, I see an eye and an eye. And I'm pretty sure that's an eye. So that one's terrifying. But maybe they think the sky is falling. The sky is falling, Chicken Little. Oh, so cool. So what did I miss or misunderstand? Leave me all your thoughts, your wisdom, all that good stuff into them comments below, and stay tuned, stay juicy. And I can't wait to see you clever robots on the green side of the market. Yeah.